Hello and welcome back to the Football Chat Podcast. Today is episode 129, where we're continuing our series of looking through every single Premier League club and rebuilding their side for the 2023-24 season. Today's episode is centred around Crystal Palace. Now, Palace are a bit of a weird one, in my opinion, because I don't really know where their current direction is as a club, because I don't really see them breaking into Europe. They're not really. There's already 10, 11 sides better than them right now. But they're much better than any of the relegation sides. So they're really in a weird situation. I think that was shown last season because they weren't really that good, especially under Vieira for the first half of the year. He was then, I think, harshly sacked because they had a tough run of fixtures. Then in came Hodgson and they were fine. So their squad is more than good enough to stay alive in the Premier League for the next few years. And if they start to struggle, they can sell on any of their talents and recoup 50, 60 mil, loads more than what they bought them for. So they're in a really weird situation now where I don't really know where Palace go, but I think they'll enjoy that stability.
Yeah, because I think as much as they probably be pushing on, they'll be very happy that they know they're probably guaranteed to stay in the Premier League for a very long time, as long as nothing catastrophic happens.
You cannot take it for granted. You can't be complacent, but you can definitely say with a level of certainty that Palace are definitely stronger than at least three sides in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting how next season goes because they're losing a lot. They haven't got a manager.
Yeah.
And I don't really know where to kind of put their squad.
That's a problem. I'd love to have moved Palace to last, but since we're doing it in alphabetical order, we've got to do it now. They haven't got a manager. It looks like it may well be Roy Hodgson again. They're trying to ask him to come back, but he said he's retiring.
He keeps saying he's going to retire, and then Crystal Palace come knocking and he goes, oh, go on then.
It's just such a weird transfer for Palace. The thing for Palace is it just offers stability. They know it works with Hodgson, so why try anything new?
With Vieira, I thought that maybe they stick with Vieira, they can push on in the next few years and get higher up, get into the top half of the Premier League table. But they didn't like that. They brought in Roy Hodgson, who's very good at keeping you where you are, which is where they want to be. They want to stay mid-table. Obviously they want to push on, but they want to stay mid-table for the rest of their Premier League life.
Yeah, fair enough. But who would be your ideal Crystal Palace candidate right now? Because in my opinion, it would have been Anthony Iraola, and he's just joined Bournemouth. Great pickup by them. Harsh on Gary O'Neill, though, depending on what the situation of his sacking, of course. But who do you see as an ideal candidate for Palace?
I honestly don't know. I look at the managers that have been sacked or replaced at recent Premier League sides, and I just go, they're not very good.
Yeah, I think you have to look abroad, don't you?
My only other one would be Hasenhüttl. But
really,
I think he's a good manager.
I think he's fine, but he's not Crystal Palace. For me, it would either be Nettel Knudsen, the former, or he might still be employed by Bodo Glimt. I don't know where he is right now, but he did a really good job with them. Or the Denmark manager from, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm going to have to look now. But he was Hjulmand. Something Hjulmand. He's a decent manager as well. So someone like that, I think you've got to take a punt on someone if you're going to bring someone in.
But that's the thing. But Palace don't like doing that. That's why they like Roy Hodgson.
Yeah, Kasper Hjulmand at Denmark.
He's Premier League proven, and I wouldn't be surprised they go for someone experienced. If I see Tony Pulis rock up at Selhurst Park next year, I wouldn't be shocked.
Kjetil Knudsen, by the way, is still also at Bodo/Glimt. So I think those are both decent options. It's just whether Palace take the punt, and they probably won't. They'll probably keep what they've currently got, but. Yeah. So I think Hodgson, if he is in for do not do that. If he is in for next season, Hodgson, you'd like to hope he can build on what he's built so far. That looking at the end of last season, they definitely started to improve under him. But where does that go? I just don't know. What do they do this season?
I think Roy Hodgson has a ceiling, but they like that.
Yeah, for Palace, he also has. He doesn't. His floor is also great. So
he's built a really nice house, but he's not going to add a conservatory or add a few rooms.
But it's stable, and you could live there for a good few years. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Palace, if they want to push on, need to employ someone else.
All in all, though, across the year, they had a good season last year.
Yeah. Do you think that Vieira was very harshly sacked?
I do. I think from his point of view, he will be. But for Palace, it looked like the right decision in hindsight. But
I think if you stuck with Vieira, you would have won as many games, arguably more than Hodgson did.
I think long term Vieira would have been the one, and now they've boxed themselves in really by bringing in Roy Hodgson.
Because now they've either got to bring in Hodgson again, and that's another year where they're not thinking of the future, or they've got to go and get a young coach who could be a complete gamble.
Yeah, whereas Vieira was a gamble. The gamble worked, and then they got bored of the gamble.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. What would you think of a Michael Carrick coming in? Could you bring him in from Middlesbrough?
That's not bad. That's not a bad.
Good
idea,
young
that.
side to work with. Plays a lovely possession style of play. Could that work?
And I think he will be looking for the step up from Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
Because as good as Middlesbrough are, I don't know if they'll get to the Premier League.
And I think if you bring him in, maybe he brings a player with him, something like that. Yeah. I think he could definitely work. So there's options for Palace to explore. More than likely, though, we will see Roy Hodgson come back for another season. For the improvements that we do in these videos, I've decided to just target some players that make sense for Palace. But obviously, it's very difficult to do because we don't know who the manager is. So
if it's Roy Hodgson, you have Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Exactly, yeah. So I've just targeted some players that I think would suit the squad and the dynamic of the team. Ideally, playing that 4-3-3 that works for Palace, or 4-2-3-1.
I think the main thing they've got to address, though, is probably the contracts.
Well, yes, that is a great point. Now, as we will start this video, we will start with the expiring contracts. Now, Chelsea yesterday, we looked at, had no one leaving in 2023. Palace with 4 departures, namely Wilfried Zaha, who's linked with a move to Saudi Arabia, Luka Milivojevic, who is linked with a move to nowhere, Nathan Ferguson, who joined from West Brom only a year or two ago. I don't really think he's good enough, so I wouldn't re-sign him. And then James MacArthur is unfortunately leaving the club as well.
I think I look at those 4 and I go, Milivojevic, for me, I think he's a bit average, very good at penalties, but that's about, you can replace a penalty taker. And as good as Zaha is, they has Eze, you have Elise, you have good quality strikers. I don't think it's a huge miss. A couple of years ago, losing Zaha for Palace would have been the end of the world. Now, though, I think they'll be fine. Obviously, losing on a free is never an ideal situation.
Exactly. They definitely could have got a lot of money for him.
Yeah.
For Palace, at least. That would have been a lot of money. But I think Zaha didn't have a great campaign last year by his standards. He had a decent campaign and he helped Palace. But by his standards, he wasn't stunning. I cannot, for life of me, remember what his goals and assists was. We'll have a look.
I'm pretty sure he was outplayed by Eze and Elise.
7 goals, 2 assists. It's not the numbers that he's been putting up. He got 14 goals the campaign before that, 11 the season before that, and then the season before that, 4, 10, 9, 7. So it's his worst campaign if you exclude 19-20 since 16-17.
You played 31 last year. How many you played this year?
27.
I think another 4.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I thought it might have been a case that he's just not played over the other 2, but no, I've been given the chance.
He's just not the focal point anymore, is he? So I don't think losing him's too much of an issue.
30 years old as well. He's in
his prime.
I don't think it's a massive miss.
I think it's a big miss, but I think you can replace him.
Yeah.
And his wage is astronomical, so that is not a bad thing to lose off the wage bill. I think it shows that they don't mind losing Zaha, the fact that they haven't re-signed a contract.
Yeah, no.
If they wanted to keep him around, they could have offered him loads before Saudi came calling and stuff. Because it's not like they're now directly competing with them. No. They've known Zaha's contract was going to expire. They've not really done anything about it. I don't think they're too worried about losing him.
And as for the other 3, I'm not sure they're too bothered at all.
I think you're losing a lot of presence in the dressing room, though. Zaha, Milivojevic, MacArthur, all some of the older players in the squad. But not that there's not others, Joel Ward, James Tompkins, players like that, but there's a lack of experience in that Palace side, and I think by losing Milivojevic, who is the captain, of course, by losing MacArthur, by losing Zaha, you lose a lot of some of the statesmen of Palace over the last half a decade. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing they miss, not the physical presence, but actually just the presence of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with their losses, but they've got to replace them, obviously, and we'll touch on those improvements later. But they've also got a lot of players leaving in 2024, and I think this could be the bigger issue, because it's not that they're losing quality players 24. It's like they're losing all of their players.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Schlupp, Will Hughes, Jairo Riedewald, Nathaniel Klein, Joe Ward, Vicente Guaita, James Tompkins, and Remy Matthews all leaving in 2024. That's a lot of players.
It's a lot. And this is their decision. I think some of them you could maybe give new deals, some of them you sell, some of them you let go.
Okay, should we run through them all and decide whether to keep them around or not? Jeffrey Schlupp. It's easy keep.
Yeah, I suppose.
Solid player, can cover on the left-hand side of the pitch, plays well in middle midfield. For me, he makes a lot of sense to keep around.
Yes, give him a new contract. Also saying for Will Hughes.
Really?
Yeah, I like Will Hughes.
Okay, fine. Keep Will Hughes around there. I think he's fine, but
he's just bang average. Can play in your cup competitions. Nice
yeah,
guy.
you probably get better, but
I don't think you get much money for him.
No, probably not. Jaro Riedewald, cut your losses.
Yeah,
it's not worked, has it?
I don't really think he plays.
Well, he came in the Frank de Boer era, and
any guy that came in that era needs to go straight away.
Frank de Boer era was not the most successful one in Palace's history, but yeah, Riedewald just doesn't really work. It isn't good enough for the Prem. It would make sense to let him go. And I think the same really follows for Nathaniel Klein. I like Klein. Really nice guy.
Yeah.
Seems like a good player. Well, was a good player. It just his injuries and lack of game time over the last few years have hampered him a lot. He's done well when called upon for Crystal Palace, but I don't think I see a future.
He's behind Joel Ward in the pecking order.
That is, not great
Speaking
for him.
Speaking of, let him go.
Joel Ward also leaving in 2024. For me, you don't let him go because you need to have a backup right back, and if we're getting rid of Klein, then you definitely need.
Or just buy two because Joel Ward's crap.
I'd still keep Ward. He's one of the more experienced players in the side.
I guess.
Vicente Guaita, I think he's a really capable backup.
He is.
Sam Johnson obviously came in as first choice under Roy Hodgson, so you'd imagine he'll keep that number 1 jersey, but Guaita as a backup goalie is not a bad backup by any
It's whether
stretch.
he wants to play backup.
Yeah.
Because he was starting keeper and suddenly Roy Hodgson comes in and kicks him out.
Well, he might be starting again next season, so it's really hard to say. James Tompkins, one of the older players in the squad again.
How's his man employed at this little club?
Definitely does. He brings leadership to the side, but he shouldn't be playing much football.
No.
And then Ray Matthews, I think is a reserve keeper, but I might be mistaken
there.
there.
I don't miss him then.
Probably not. I don't think he's a big part of their team.
No, where is he?
Yeah, he is their third choice goalkeeper, but you keep him around. He's been out on loan at St Johnstone.
Oh dear.
You probably just keep bringing back as a third choice. He's English. He fulfils the quota. Not that Palace are at any risk of failing the English quota. The whole squad's English, pretty much. But yeah, they definitely need players like him to be able to balance that if they were to change the squad a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then to the squad keep or sell. Then this is players that are actually employed, not ones that have contracts expiring. So a lot to look through here then with this Palace squad. A lot of interesting discussions, I'm sure. Yes. So first up with the goalkeepers, already spoken about Guaita. I would keep him around. I think and obviously Remy Matthews. I think it's a similar sentiment with Sam Johnston.
Yeah, I think he had a good season. Obviously, he brought in as a backup under Vieira, and then when Vieira was let go and Hodgson was brought in, Hodgson promoted him to number 1, and I think he stepped up to the mark quite well. Yeah,
really good shot stopper, good with the ball at his feet as well, which is very much necessary for the modern goalkeeper. I just think he's a good goalie. I think he's really underrated as well. He did a job for West Brom when they were in the Prem.
I remember when he was at West Brom, he was kind of linked with a few moves away and never really got that move away. Finally got the move to Palace and he's been given a chance to shine.
Yeah, nine appearances at the end of the season, 3 clean sheets in those 9 appearances.
Not too shabby.
Not bad at all. And yeah, I think he can definitely do a job if he is to be first choice next season, or if we are very, very capable backup, if that's the way they want to take it. Looking at the bench, looking at defenders, not the bench. James Tompkins, obviously, was spoken about. Same with Joel Ward, same with Nathaniel Klein. A lot of their defenders will be leaving potentially in 2024. Joachim Andersen, though, is an interesting one. For me, he is a really, really good centre half. I think the partnership between him and Gerhi is immense, but I would have fears about losing the pair.
I was going to say, if the right prices or the right teams come knocking, you're in big trouble of losing them both.
Because they'll want to go, presumably, if the right clubs
come. By all means, if no one comes in, keep them, absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If a team came in, say Arsenal came in, I don't know, for 40, 50 million for Gerhi, you have to sell it.
Slightly lower for Anderson, I would probably let him leave.
Because you can go get a very good capable centre-half pairing for 70, 80 million.
Oh yeah, you should be able to. I think you're just about, if play your cards right, but... Yeah, Anderson, Gerhi, both magical players. I think they've formed a really nice partnership together, and if you can keep them around, you do, because they're both magnificent. But you've definitely got to invest in options before they leave. So you've got players integrated into the side before you are forced into integrating them.
Yeah.
So I would look to keep them this summer, but obviously buy some backups, buy some other options, buy some replacements, and have them in the side integrating before we get to next summer, where if Gerhi is still there after next summer, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
He would have to have had a howler of a season.
I mean, England's starting centre-half, that's, Peter have got a lot of
Potentially.
on his
It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Euros, but in the qualifiers he has played a fair few minutes, so hopefully he starts to start over Maguire. Nathan Ferguson, I've already spoken about. It looks like he will leave upon the expiration of his contract this month. Chris Richards he's done alright this season when called upon for Palace. Only 9 appearances,
I think he's a
all
fine
near the
backup.
end of the campaign, I believe. Yeah, all came under
Roy Hodgson.
He actually did alright though, to be fair to him. But yeah, he's a centre half. I think he's fine. Joined from Bayern Munich, of course. I think he's fine.
Yeah.
But he's not
Couple
anything
left backs
stunning.
as well, can't he?
I believe he can, yeah. But fullback cover is something they lack. There
Yeah, I
is
was gonna say.
just Joel Ward and then Klein.
Joel Ward.
Both of those will be looking to potentially leave in the near future. Then you've just got Tyreek Mitchell on that
Who is
side.
obviously a key quality.
Oh, yeah. Sensational.
I think he's in a similar boat to Gerhi and Wacky Manderson, whereas if the right team come knocking with the right prize. But he's got 100 appearances for Palace, Tyreek Mitchell.
Well, he's been playing for a while, hasn't he? He's first
enough.
appearance in December 2019. And he is only 23, but he's made appearances as a 19-year-old, and he's been
Fair enough to
a
him.
mainstay in the side for the 3 seasons since.
Yeah, he's been brilliant.
So yeah, really, really capable left back, good going forward, good defensively as well. Part of a Palace defence which were really, really solid towards the end of last season.
Yeah.
I think, you can probably get a lot of money for him. Similar to Wan-Bissaka. A couple of years back, you could probably get 50 mil, 40 mil maybe. 50 mil's a bit of a push in the current climate, but I think you can definitely get good money for Mitchell. I wouldn't want to. I think he's really talented, and so I would keep him around if you can. But yeah.
But I think
This is going to be the interesting thing that defines the future for Palace, because if they can keep Gerhi, Mitchell, Anderson, Elise, Eze, then they've got a chance of making a push for Europe in the next few years, because they're brilliant, brilliant players.
Yeah.
And if you can add a few more talents in there to supplement your current squad, I think you can start to build something which really could make a push for Europe. Because if you think about the sides that almost got Europe this season, I think they are close to Brentford. I don't think Villa are too much of a leap. Tottenham, you could argue if they get their shit together, will be a lot better. But if they don't, which seems likely, then that's an option. I think Fulham are a much worse team. They've just got a striker.
Yeah.
And I think that's Palace's biggest issue is actually their lack of
But
striker.
equally, going through the squad kit itself, defensive reinforcement is needed.
Yeah, some fullbacks, probably a starting right back, I would say, because I don't think
Backup
Joel
centre
Ward
half.
is really what you need, and some backups in half, because they literally have Chris Richards as their only, and James Tompkins as their backups. So, yeah,
Not
they
great.
could do with one other backup, I would say, of quality. Into those midfielders, then we've already spoken about MacArthur, we've already spoken about Milivojevic, we've already spoken about Schlupp, Hughes, and Riederveld. So a lot of midfielders
They
leaving
need some
soon.
replacements.
But looking at the players who will actually be at the club, then Every Eze. Well, we've said we'll keep Hughes and Schlupp, but yeah, Every Eze.
Must keep quality.
He's a really good player, isn't he? Yeah. I think you will start to get suitors in the next few years, but I think you've definitely got another year with Eze.
And it has to be a high price for me.
Yeah, 60 mil, I would say, looking around that mark,
Don't sell
50
him
mil
for cheap.
maybe. Yeah, and I think he's listed as a forward on here, but we'll speak about him at the same time. Michael Elise, because those two are both really incredible
They are.
talent.
I mean, also you've seen Eze get his, recently get his first England cap. Two very high potential players who are playing very, very well at the moment. You if suitors come in for them, because it's going to be big size with a lot of money, you have to demand a high fee.
It's got to be north of 50.
Yeah.
Has to be north of 50
Similar to
mil.
what they did with Wan-Bissaka, drive that fee up.
Yeah. Because Palace can't really afford to become a selling club, as in they can't sell everything.
But also they'll be helped by the fact that obviously it's English players and it's an English league.
Yeah.
Like how
English
Leicester
tax.
managed to
things
rob
I have to say.
United from Maguire. English tax
Yeah.
would give them an extra few million.
Yeah. On to the other midfielders then, Cheikh Doucouré.
I like him. I think he's a very
He
good
had a
player.
quiet first year, I'd say, at Palace. He didn't tear the league apart, but not many more box-to-box midfielders do. Unless you're N'Golo Kante or João Palhinha, no one really mentioned it. Which I don't know why João Palhinha's been as highly revered as he is. I think he's a really good player, but he's been talking about like he's the second coming of Jesus.
I mean, that'll be tomorrow.
That will be tomorrow.
No,
but
why?
No, what is that?
Everton, E's before F, isn't it?
Yeah, disgraceful. But Cheikh Doucouré had a fine start to life at Palace. Didn't really make many mistakes, so
No.
I think he was fine. I think
I haven't heard.
he'll only
I haven't really
develop.
heard much of him, which is usually a good thing. I mean,
34 appearances in his debut campaign in the Premier League.
3 assists.
3 assists in that time.
nice rating though.
He's not really a player who should get assists.
Did get
He's
sent off.
He did get a red, but that's respectable.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
Love to see a red card,
Yeah, come on.
Go through him. But I think, he's a really quality player, and he will only develop. He is only 23. Yeah. And he's not the kind of player that you're going to have loads of suitors for. So he could be there for another 7-8 years.
I just love this completely mixed Palace side. You're either 35 or you're 23. There's no in between.
Genuinely. There is actually... This is just...
Must be a weird changing room dynamic.
I don't know, though. I think there will be...
like your 20-year-olds this side and your 30-year-olds this side. I think they will look better, though.
I mean, I can't imagine Elise and Tompkins have a lot of common ground, but you never know.
Football's the same football team at the end of the day.
But they'll have little areas, because you don't really, like, obviously you want that team cohesion, you want everyone to be part of the thing, and I think they will for that, but your striker doesn't really need to be besties with your right back.
No.
And I don't think Edouard and Joel Ward are, but they're amicable, of course. It's not going to be like, they hate the old guys, but yeah. Looking at the other midfielders then, Noah Rao Alhamada. I think is how you pronounce his name. I may be wrong, so apologies if you're watching. Alhamada. But I think he's a really good player. He joined in January from Stuttgart, 8 appearances. He can play as either a centre mid or push on into attacking mid role. I think he will start to be integrated more into the side next season. Clearly a very good midfielder. Offers a much better depth than the likes of MacArthur or Milivojevic do. I think he's a really good player.
Yeah.
So, but there's not much to judge so far. I've not seen him. Yeah. But a really good player and a potential brilliant return on investment if that is needed. Killian Phillips then, who was out on loan at Shrewsbury last season, played 20 appearances for the Shrews. I don't know what their nickname was, but I wanted to give him is it the Shrews? Come on. There are 3 goals in those 20 games. He was part of the side that lost to Lincoln on the final day, so clearly terrible. No, he's Irish, good young centre midfielder.
Probably get another loan next year.
Yeah, definitely needs another loan. He wasn't that impressive for Shrewsbury. Needs another League One, maybe Championship loan if you can. Yeah, but that's going to be a bit of a push. But I don't really know where his future lies. Palace fans, you have to tell me whether you rate him more. I cannot say I've ever watched the bloke play, but seems like a nice...
I don't really spend my Saturdays watching Shrewsbury.
He might be a nice bloke. I can't comment on that either. Into the forwards then. Jordan, are you up first?
I like Jordan, are you?
I think he's fine.
I think he's a fine backup.
The thing is, you've got 3 strikers here, and I think you need to sell one to bring a different striker in. So it's a case of would you rather lose Edouard or Mateta?
My thing of is he can cover on the left as well.
Can he? He can cover out wide.
I think with Andre.
No, he can play both wings. He could even play right mid according to this.
I get him and his brother mixed up all the time.
Yeah, it's such a common occurrence that you're talking about Andre and Jordan Ayew, but yeah, I think for me, Edouard's really good. I think Mateta's a bit hit and miss. I think Ayew is ageing, so
maybe go to Ayew.
I would want to bring another striker. I don't really know how you facilitate whether that's Ayew or Mateta leaving. Crystal Palace fans, I'm sure you'll have a lot to say in the comments below about that.
Maybe there's more suitors for Jordan Ayew, my thing.
Maybe I'd say Mateta's going to have more suitors.
How do they do this year?
So Mateta played 29 games and got 2 goals, only 6 starts, so to be fair.
Ayew.
Jordan Ayew, 4 goals in 38 appearances. He played every single match.
Both of them were rubbish.
And then Edouard picked up 5 goals in 35 games. I'm saying, the strikers for Palace don't score enough.
Yeah.
They just don't. I think they need to bring someone in.
I mean, it shows how much they relied on Eze and Elise.
Yeah, obviously, Eberechi Eze with 10 goals from 38 appearances.
So those stats will sell them all.
And then Elise with 2 goals but 11 assists.
Quality.
From 37 appearances.
I mean, he's a must keep, obviously. We'll talk about
him. Yeah, of course. So for me, Edouard you keep because I think he's a really good backup. It's between them, Mateta and Ayew. And or both, yeah.
They're both horrific this year.
Yeah. Maybe not the worst.
I know not everything's in the stats, but at the end of the day, you cannot play 38 games of football as a striker and only score 4 goals.
I would keep... But the thing is, because they rotate so often, it sort of makes sense. There's not one striker. If you told me one striker scored 12 goals for Palace... And
I guess that's 38 appearances, isn't it? Not 38
Well, yeah, I mean, Mateta started 2 games.
So that could be like they get 2 minutes off the
bench.
But
I think you'd make more from selling Mateta than Ayew. So that would be why I'd let him go. And Ayew's an older player. He's not...
Bit of experience.
He's not going to really kick up a fuss if he's not playing loads. But for me, a starting striker is so pivotal for Crystal Palace because they don't score enough goals. And if they want to push up the league, they've got to start scoring more goals. Then, the only other players left to talk about are Luke Plange, who's a striker that's been out on loan at Lincoln this season. As a Lincoln fan or a Lincoln supporter?
I think out of the three people we're about to talk about, he's probably the worst. But I think, again,
it's not a great sign that he's a striker with 0 goals in League One from 18 appearances this season. Yeah, but
I think he only joined in January, though, didn't he?
He did, but you'd like to think he kicks the ball in the back of the net once at some point over the 6 months.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe he needs another loan.
Oh, 100%. He's not starting, is he?
Next two, though.
Jessurun Raksaki.
What a season he had
brilliant
for Charlton.
So I think he could definitely come in and do a job. He could definitely come in and challenge Elise.
My only... My thing is obviously... I'm
happened?
I'm just weighing it up in my head. Okay. It was League One. Could he do a Championship loan?
Yeah, probably. 15 appearances, 8 assists though.
The reason I say I think he could do a Championship loan is because you do not want him and the next person to be competing for minutes, because I think the next person is a very, very, very good player.
He was also on loan in League One, no?
Was he?
Malcolm Eboyoe was out on. I was on loan at Hull to defend the Championship for the second half. He was on loan.
And he played 12 games, didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Hull are rubbish.
For me, he needs another loan.
Okay, yeah, I've just... Okay.
Malcolm Eboyoe.
I thought he was really
I think
good.
Raksaki's better. Yeah, they are good players. I think Raksaki's better though.
I think out of the threats, out of Plonge, whatever you want to call him, Raksaki and
Eboyoe,
I think...
He really... that is a really difficult name to say.
I think you...
Too many vowels.
Loan 2 out, keep 1. And for me, that'd be keep Or you loan all 3 out?
I'd loan all 3 out because there's a right winger on the market for free who I'm going to bring in. I think that's a nice time to go into our improvements. So a couple areas that we're going to target here. A centre half, really important with both Anderson and Gerhi Lincoln moves away. A right back, a starting right back rather than starting Joel Ward ever again. Central midfield, I think they could do some options, especially with MacArthur, Milivojevic leaving and potentially Schlupp, Hughes and Riedewald the summer after. A left wing backup. A Zaha replacement on the left, and then a right winger Elise backup, and then a starting striker as well. So a lot to address, potentially a lot of money to be outlaid, but I think it will pay dividends if they sign the right players.
Yeah.
So should we start with we'll start from the back, obviously, with the starting centre half. I have gone for Kevin Danso at Lens this season. I see Lens. He is the less appealing of the two of Facundo Medina or Danso, the two Lens centre halves.
I don't think
for me though, Medina's got so many other suitors. That's going to be a fight to try and get him. Whereas Danso, I think he's gone under the radar a little bit, but he's really good in the air, a physical inferiority in Ligue 1. I think he'd bring that to the Premier League. He's really, really tall, which can help.
I'll say, he'll be a fine back up to Joachim Anderson.
And if Joachim Anderson is to leave the club, potentially, which you would hope he doesn't, but if he does, then Danso's definitely a capable starter. Yeah. It means you can rotate more often, because I think Gerhi and Anderson, while they work, did play so much last season.
Yeah.
So for the cups and stuff like that, it would be nice to have Danso to rotate. So I think that can work. I think it'd be a really good centre half. And around that £16 million mark, you can get yourself a really good deal. In at right back then, I have targeted Aitor Roybal. Now, this is a player that La Liga players will be familiar with, the Real Betis right back. Really good attacking numbers, not so comfortable defensively, but I think that's all right because you can use the different players in different situations. If you've got a game where you need to be a little tighter defensively, maybe bring in Joel Ward. If you've got a game where you need to be a little more offensive, then Aitor Roybal's a really, really good player. He can also cover right wing, which is an option if you're really struggling for players. He could play middle midfield if you really wanted him to. So I think he's a really versatile player, and around £8 million for a really, really decent right back.
That's not bad.
27 years old as well. I think he'd do well.
Yeah.
I think he'd do well. On to the midfielders then, and there's already a little bit of our job done for us, because a brilliant bit of business that Palace pulled off already is Jefferson Lerma on a free.
Absolute bargain.
Yeah, I mean, it's undoubtedly a bargain, undoubtedly a really good transfer. This could win signing of the window.
It's brilliant.
Because you've managed to bring in a really quality DM from a rival for nothing.
Yeah.
And I think he'll come in and do a perfect job as your defensive midfielder.
Brilliant piece of work.
I think it's brilliant from Palace. Yeah, they've gone out, they knew what they were looking for, they've gone and signed a really good player.
Yeah.
And then I've listed some other midfield options here because I was slightly dubious about keeping Hughes, keeping Schlupp. So I've got two options here. Either Rodrigo Riquelme at Girona, a really good attacking midfielder, could play that Eze role. If they play in midfield 3 next season, they probably want Lerma sitting, then someone with a bit more energy, Cheikh Doucouré playing that box-to-box role, and then Eze as a more attacking player. I think Riquelme can play that role really well, and this is where I've sort of targeted those backups, because the other player I've gone for is Chuba Akpom. Now, I spoke about potentially Carrick coming in. He would, obviously he's worked with Akpom, he plays attack midfielder there. It would be a very similar role, and they could play a 4-2-3-1 then.
It was an interesting transition from Mark Carrick to turn Akpom from a striker into an attacking midfielder. But it seems to have worked. He
plays a second striker, really, so he can do that role. I think you probably, if you're going to use that, you probably sit a double pivot and sit Doucouré a little deeper rather than as a box-to-box, but you could play a bit more offensive with Doucouré as a box-to-box and almost create the Man City system.
Again, it really depends what manager they bring in.
Yeah, it does, because if Roy Hodgson comes in, it's probably going to be
Chris Brunt.
As you say, Chris Brunt. But I think for me it just makes a lot of sense. They're both going to be decent, quite expensive deals relatively. I think 15 mil for Akpom, 12 mil, something like that for Riquelme. They're both going to be expensive deals. If you can find options for cheaper, I think you do. Or if you're happy with Hughes and that, I think that's fine. But for me, you just need one. The other advantage of Akpom, obviously, is that he's played in English football.
Yeah. And
he could come in and do a really nice job. But he also offers an option if Eze leaves to play that attacking midfielder role. So I think he works for all parties. I think it'd be a really good deal. I think Middlesbrough for 15 mil would be very happy to receive that injection of cash. Then into the Zaha replacement. This one was a really important transfer for me.
Yeah.
And I think you can get someone without paying a single penny to another club, but you'd have to give him a big wage. Now, this is a bit of a gamble coming from Los Lille on a free transfer. Jonathan Bamba. Now, he's got a lot of suitors, clubs like Marseille, Fiorentina, Real Betis. But I think the allure of the Premier League can do a lot here.
Yeah.
He's a French player, about 28 years old, I believe, who can play on the left-hand side, great at cutting in on that right foot. On a free transfer, he's probably going to want a wage around that 100k mark, which is quite steep, but probably more. But you've been paying Zaha that for the last few years, and I think Bamba's a better quality player who can really cause problems for other teams in the Premier League. Such a good player.
And for Bamba, this would be his last shot at the Premier League.
Yeah, I just think the allure of the Premier League.
I think he'd excel. I think he'd be really good.
Yeah, there's nothing to suggest he would flop.
If he was given his chance, I think he'd be a very
And the fact it's a free transfer means it's relatively risk-free, because if it doesn't work, you can sell him on for a hefty profit.
Yeah.
And you know there'll be suitors. There are clubs interested in him right now. There will be clubs interested in him if it doesn't fail in a year's time.
Him playing with Eze and Elise, that's just quality.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a win-win for all parties. I think Bamba would be more excited about that project because it is the Premier League and it is a chance of playing in the best league in the world. Rather than going to somewhere like Fiorentina, going to Real Betis. I just don't think that's... for me, that's a less attractive proposal than Palace's. Palace have that Premier League pull. I think they could use that to their advantage to bring in Jonathan Bamba. I do admit that's a bit of a gamble. It's a bit of a long shot. I think he's a really talented player. But if Palace were to pull that off, that is the perfect Zaha replacement, in my opinion. And another free transfer on the right-hand side. Now, this isn't too necessary if you see Jessamine Raksaki as a really good long-term option. But with Arsenal struggling to negotiate his contract, I think making a move for Reece Nelson makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of interest in Michael Elise right now. Yeah. So potentially, if you let him go at 50 mil and bring in Nelson for free, that is a brilliant bit of business.
I think that would be brilliant. Yeah.
I think that I really rate Elise, and I'd love to see him playing for Chelsea because that'd be amazing. I think he's a really talented player. I think he's linked with a lot of moves away to different clubs. If he is to leave, Reece Nelson on a free makes a lot of sense. Yeah, a lot of sense, and I think he could be a really good player for Palace in the future. And if it doesn't work out, in a similar vein to Bamba, it's a free transfer. He's got a lot of years left. He'll turn a really nice profit, but it should work out. He's a lot less risk-free. He's a lot more risk-free than Bamba was because he's played in the Premier League. He knows the league. He's played with Arsenal. He is just a really talented player. I think if you play him on that right-hand side, either in rotation with Elise or to replace Elise should he leave, I think he really works. But you do have a slight problem with blocks, Jessa and Raksaki. However, my caveat would be Elise could either play a different position as the attack mid, or just lots of frequent rotation, or Elise may well leave. And I think Raksaki will see that and actually decide that Palace is the place to be because he will get minutes in the long term. So I think that makes a lot of sense for all parties. And then the final one, I've mentioned in this video that Palace really need a starting forward.
Someone who score a goal.
And this is potentially my biggest shout of the video, Andre Silva, the RB Leipzig striker, Portuguese international. I think you get him around for get him for around 20 mil, and I think that people may argue that's low, but for me, Leipzig don't really need him. I don't think they've got Benjamin Šeško, they've got Timo Werner,
Poulsen.
they've got Yusuf Poulsen.
So even though they lost Nkunku, they've still got three other strikers. They just Andre Silva.
I'm dubious on that Poulsen one, but I will just double check that.
Really
but I think he'd be able to come in, do a great job. I think he's a really good player, and he's never had a shot at the Premier League. He is still there, to be fair. Never had a shot at the Premier League. I think he comes in and does really well.
Yeah,
I think he comes in and does really, really well. It'd be interesting to see, but I think with Šeško joining, they may well be looking to move him on. His wages are going to be high, so it sort of needs to be a Premier League club to go and get him. He is only 27, so a good few years left in at the top of the game. He did only score 4 goals in 31 appearances in Bundesliga this season, so I think there's a lot of question marks there.
It's a gamble.
It is a gamble.
But I think on his day, he's a very good player.
He's a really good player.
Yeah.
And if not, you've got to hope Edouard comes good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's a stamp that up, but it's a big name signing.
He is.
That's
Makes a statement.
I think it's an interesting one. I'm sure Palace fans will leave their opinions in the comments below.
Yeah.
I think I think it would be a big coup, but yeah, that's everything for my improvements then. So predictions for next season. Let's say we'll do like we were originally with where we had a lot of difference between the two, improvement and non-improvement. So firstly, without much improvement, where do you see this Palace side next season? Can Eze and Elise keep them in a decent position?
I think it's similar to what we said at the top of the video. It's either stationary or backwards for me, depending on what manager they bring in.
Yeah.
If they bring in Hodgson, then maybe I think it'll be stationary. They brought in a new manager with this same squad they had last year. Losing the players that they will on a free, I think they'd go backwards.
Yeah, I just can't see them being relegated though, and I just don't see it happening. So I think they'll be safe in that regard. But yeah, I think they're a good side, Palace, but they do need some improvements. With those improvements, could they push Europe?
I don't think so.
I think
there's too many good sides.
I would probably say that they can get top half.
Mate, yeah.
Because I think Brentford without Ivan Toney for the first half of the campaign, Fulham, if Mitro doesn't score 50 goals, then they're probably going to struggle.
I think because you've got the big six plus Villa, Newcastle, Brighton. That's 9 teams.
Yeah. Yeah, equally Villa may slip off.
Nah.
Tottenham might, so you never know.
Tottenham could, especially when they've got Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, well, what you still disrespect Ange Postecoglou, and I think it's disgraceful.
Anyway.
But yeah, so there's some predictions. I'm sure Crystal Palace fans will give their thoughts in the comments below. So please do if you have enjoyed this. If you are new to the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're aiming for 2,500 subscribers this year. Would massively help us towards that goal if you could hit that subscribe button. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully our shouts aren't too unrealistic and you agree with a lot of our analysis of the squad. But yeah, we're really enjoying making these videos. Look out tomorrow for the next installment where we'll be talking about Everton. But yeah, that's all from us today. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.